What's up, good people? We back at it. This is SupaDopeFresh podcast. I'm your boy Bolofresche.
And I'm DeBlak.
And we got the main man, legendary B-boy straight out of LA from where your grandmama and them stay. B-boy Orko is in the building.
Y'all give it up.
What's good, fam?
Give it up for Orko.
You know what's up, Super Dope?
We in the house.
Yes, sir.
Good to have you on. We've been trying to get this interview for a while now. We're just glad to get you in.
Man.
We talked about your extensive history and just b-boying, and we really wanted an opportunity for you to share that story with the world. So thanks again for joining us today.
What's up?
Yeah, man.
And we're gonna just go right into it. Really, we want to have you introduce yourself, and really let's start off with the most basic things, like where does the name B-boy Orko come from?
Good God.
Come on,
You know
put
what,
him on the spot.
Man, that was given to me by my crew from Shake City Rockers. This is before b-boying even hit the West Coast. You know what I mean? These are early days. It actually happened at a club called Hot Tracks. It's in San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
When we first started going out, at night without my parents, I was about 12 years old.
How old are you? 12? Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how I got into clubs. I don't know how I got into these places, you know what I mean, as a kid.
Right.
But it was the place was called Hot Tracks. And I used to get down, in the cypher, but I was really, really shy. I was really shy, so I bought a ninja mask. And, I'd put it down. All you could see is just my eyes. And I would throw that hoodie right over. That's how shy I was. So when I hear kids being shy, I'm like, dude, you don't even know. You know what I mean? I didn't. That's just who I was. So one day, somebody hollered out like, "Yo, you look like that Orko character from He-Man."
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That little wizard with the O.
We gotta find an image of that. 'Cause I remember that. It's in my head now. I remember that.
Yeah,
That was a dope character.
Yeah, definitely.
Man.
I just had a T-shirt idea.
You could never see his
faceless
yeah,
wizard.
Right. So they're like, "Yo, you look like that character Orko from He-Man." And ever since then, it just stuck, bro.
I would have never guessed that.
So yeah,
I thought it was just the name. I didn't know it was
shy,
actually connected to that. That was one of my favorite characters, but I didn't know it was that deep with it.
So how does the crew history work with you? Like, what was the first crew you was in, like, and what was the longest crew you were with?
Man, the actual first crew I was ever in was just the homies from the hood. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
All the essays. We were just some dudes used to pop, and when breaking first started out, there's a couple of them that used to break, but it was very prehistoric. Like people were doing a six step or a swipe, and that was already incredible. You know what I mean? And there was no names. So one neighborhood called it something, and another neighborhood called it this. Like in the beginning, in the West Coast, before the mainstream phenomenon of hip hop came through,
right.
You used to do a six step, and people, there was no names. So like, remember one kid calling it the Crazy Legs. Can you do the Crazy Legs? You know what I mean? And it was just weird names. The egg roll, weird names.
Just making up names.
I know y'all think he's just talking about the beginning, but this is the beginning.
Yeah, this is like the beginning where I'm talking about the certain moves didn't even exist. You know what I mean? It was just, man. Actually, it came from more like from popping. Like we used to have this move called in popping called the Colt 45. You know what I mean? And that's like the modern day the corkscrew.
Right.
Certain names or certain moves came from popping. And of course from locking, but we didn't know that. We were
so things just kind of evolved over time,
and then just added to whatever was on the plate already. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To the flow.
So yeah, and then once some power moves started coming into play, it was just the thing. It was just like that next move you had to get to be a complete b-boy. It just kept growing and manifesting, to where it got to this day. But those guys from my neighborhood, the first crew I was in, it was called Floor Control Breakers.
Okay.
And we were dope. We did a couple of performances at a nightclub, and we battled at a couple of house parties. But I really I loved the battle aspect of it. I loved, I just loved. This was a whole new culture, a whole new movement, a way that has never been done before. It was a beautiful outlet, man. It just consumed my spirit. But these other brothers here, they started banging more. You know what I mean? As we got older, girls and that G status and the whole gangbang.
Was this all out of LA? LA base?
Yeah, LA, downtown LA, 3rd and Union, Alvarado, Rampart, that whole area.
LA gangsters.
So I got put, I was like, they wanted to bang more, so then I I started breaking more. I wanted to break more and battle and what have you. So actually, there's actually the original Tommy Burgers right there by my house on Rampart, Beverly and Rampart, and across the street was a place used to be called Pup and Taco, and then that's how Taco got his name. It was called Pup and Taco, and they sold like chili dogs and stuff like that.
Right.
You know? But that was the first place that I ever got down at that Pup and Taco, you know, and the crowd made a roar. It was actually a yellow drive-through arrow, you know what I mean? When you, I actually spun on that arrow, that yellow arrow on the asphalt, and everybody started going crazy, and I was like, that energy.
You said something key. You said asphalt.
he didn't say
linoleum.
Yeah, no.
This man said he spun on the asphalt.
Ain't none of that pretty boy stuff like they do nowadays on linoleum on stage, laying out all this and that. Straight on the street.
Yeah,
That's what
it didn't even
dance come
exist.
from.
So, a guy that worked there, his name's Ronnie De Leon, Ronnie, and his brother Edwin, you know, somehow we connected, and Ronnie had the car. Remember, we were just kids.
All right.
And so because of Ronnie, actually, that's why this whole thing even evolved, because Ronnie was responsible of connecting me with Shake City Rockers.
Okay.
You know, since Floor Control wanted to continue to bang, and they actually turned into a gang. You know, it just escalated. It got really ugly, murders and all this stuff. You know what I mean? You know how, you know, that life could turn out.
That's an important thing though, because you still have some of that element in some cities now, and I always want to like ask people like how, in your mind, like how did you avoid going down that same path? Like what kept you just focusing on dance?
One night, the two carloads of, you know, my boys came to pick me up. It was about 8 o'clock at night. I ran in the house, I showered real quick, changed, and when I came out, I saw those two cars pulling away. You know, we were all just a group of kids growing up in the same neighborhood together. Happy to play football, you know what I mean? We just, everything. Right. You know, we're just kids growing up. And that night when they left me, they actually killed somebody that night. They murdered somebody. And I know that I was one of the head crazy dudes, in, you know what I mean?
Right.
You always have those 2 or 3 knuckleheads that like to start it off and get wild and crazy. I know that if I would have been with them that night, then I probably would have been in jail.
Yeah, one decision.
So once that happened, you know, we got into fights and what have you, cool. But once you murder somebody, it was like
once you squeeze that trigger, that's a whole nother level.
So that whole game changed, and that's when they're really like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. You know what I mean? And so I focused more of my attention into the dance, and I ended up hooking up with Graph One. He's a famous graffiti writer from Shake City Rockers.
Oh yeah,
you know, he's actually my first dance partner. He's a beautiful person. He's still nasty to this day. He's in the graffiti books for the West Coast, and because of him, I got introduced to his brother Aaron, and then Greg and Tonsky and everybody from Shake City.
Okay.
You know, and Shake City was just like, for me, was like an honor to get down with, because they already were known in LA. They were the crew to be down with. They were like, let's say, you know, they had MCs, they had poppers, they had graffiti artists, they had b-boys. They were the complete crew. They were actually the hip hop movement, you know.
And what he said, all elements. That's what the real crew.
All elements.
I mean, we learn this while he talking now.
You know, we had Barry as a popper. We had Angelo. Angelo went out to form a punk rock band. What are they called? It's almost like Arrested Development, that type of style.
Okay.
You know, what is this? I can't think of his name.
But I love how that sounds. It sounds like everybody was so involved in the arts and not just dance. Like you were involved in every aspect, from the art to the music to the dance, DJing.
Most definitely. You know what? And then I was a kid. I was just, you know, amazed at what was happening, and you know what I was exposed to. You know, growing up in LA. You know, in LA also the whole gang stuff was a religion, you know what I mean? You can't escape it. You have to get jumped in, you know what I mean? It's not like just even a movie or stereotype. It's true life.
Oh, wow.
You're going to get jumped on your way to school or on your way home from school. So you need to get into that local neighborhood gang to get that protection, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or else you're going to get punked by everybody, the rival gang and, you know, your neighborhood gang.
Oh, wow. So it's on both sides.
Yeah, so
be a part
you
of
had
something,
to, you know what I mean? It was just like a movie. It's unfortunate. It's nothing that I'm proud of, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, that's the law of the land, you know what I mean? And so getting down with Shake City was, to me, it was just the most amazing thing, man. They threw, in the early days, they rented out a place in Hollywood called The Mix.
Okay.
They threw a jam there called the Mix Club. And you know what? I was a kid. I didn't know, but they threw a b-boy competition back in the day. But at one of them, Houdini was there.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so all the guys from Shake City, they knew him. Some of them were from the East Coast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or had relatives from the East Coast. And then also on the other one that they threw, Run DMC judged. And Run DMC had just come out with It's Like That.
Oh, wow.
It was right before when It's Like That was coming out. Yeah. They were at Run DMC who judged it, and actually at the finals it was me against Little Caesar.
That's too dope.
I don't know if you Little Caesar,
yeah, bro.
You know,
so this is right when everything was bubbling, like everything hadn't quite popped
you know,
yet.
right when, dude, our first show, the
LA.
first actual major thing that I did, we all, Slick Rick and DeBlak were performing at Universal Studios. We actually all went and we snuck in because we didn't have no money. You know what I mean? And the way we did it, we was back in the day, you know, before technology was around. We actually distracted the person, you know, at the gate.
Right.
And then people would boom, run in underneath the gate, you know what I mean, and take off. You know, and that's how we did it. But we got on that stage, and I remember DeBlak saying, "Yo, check out the B-boys, check out the B-boys." It was a huge stage. And I threw down. And I threw down, and I heard the roar of the audience. Like, I saw, you know, thousands of little faces, little heads, and just that roar. Dude, it was just, it was
nothing like that. That's something that I don't have the breakdancer background, but I've had the MC background. So just knowing that feeling of being on the stage and people loving you and
moving that crowd, man.
Yeah, that's a beautiful moment.
Man, and then you know you're putting it correct too. You feel like this is this is me, this is my spirit, and people are acknowledging you and giving you credit for that. It was just something, you know, unlike any other feeling I've ever had in my life, and it's addicting. You know what I mean? You desire that recognition, you know what I mean, throughout your career, and so that was my first exposure to all these people, and then the whole scene just blew up. You know.
So how long did the Shake City B-boys, like, did that carry you for the next couple of years, or did you immediately start?
You know what, that carried. They were around. I mean, they're still around, but these brothers were a little older than me. Some of them started getting married. Some of them started, you know, school.
Right.
You know, some of them actually, I don't know them all completely, but because I was a kid. But some of them were. They said they were producers. They were working with a lot of, you know, music talented people in Hollywood.
Okay.
They made music. So I want to actually get together one day. Hopefully, we make a reunion.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
And introduce the world to who Shake City really was, dude. It was like a lot of great people came from, you know, out of that whole crew. You know.
Oh, wow.
They were very influential. In the beginning, of course, Africa Islam was with us, and Ice-T also. He was a big thing. He was involved. Because of Ice-T. Ice-T was one of the, you know, also one of the main influencers of West Coast hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have remembered just hearing those stories and seeing the just the footage from then, and just to be able to experience it through your eyes is like crazy.
There's a famous, well, not a famous, it was a famous battle that one weekend we were at the radio, which turned into the Radiotron that came out in the movie, and some crew called Pony Express called us out, "Yo, we want to call it Shake City," you know, and we're like, "What's up?" You know, we started battling, and then on that footage you see Ice is there, the Glove is there, you know, Tony Basil was always there, Hugo, Sugar Pop, Skate, anybody who was anybody would always go to the Radiotron because that was the mecca of like hip hop. You know what I mean? You had MCs, you had DJs, you had graffiti artists, you had everything, and you had the best b-boy poppers, lockers of the West Coast. Everybody went there. It was like church. You know what I mean? Like hip hop church. You want to test yourself? Go to the Radiotron. See, you know, everybody. I'm telling you, everybody would leave there burnt. You know what I mean? Everybody, we roasted everybody. That's why, you know, it has that fame to this day. And anybody who's anybody, even New York City, went down there, they could tell you, like, yo, Radiotron was nasty. The people, the b-boys, the lockers, the poppers. Are you kidding me?
It's very interesting hearing the West Coast stories. A lot of stories we hear do come from East Coast. And even with that, how did you eventually get introduced to East Coast? And
you know, well, one day, and it was through Ozrock. Ozrock showed up at the Radiotron one day, and Ozrock was a person that was larger than life. This guy was he didn't need Monster and Red Bull. He was Monster and Red Bull. You know what I mean? His energy, just his aura. You know, when he would go into a place like, who's that dude? You know what I mean?
Right.
He was that kind of person. Like, he's got something.
Everybody gonna ask.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But he was very fortunate to get a sponsor from Coca-Cola. Out from the East Coast, and he stayed in LA, and he did some Mountain Dew commercial. He also did the pilot.
Oh wow.
He also did. He was the one that was responsible for taking me to certain little things that little cameos I did in certain movies. It's because of him. He was the first. I want to say the first b-boy that transitioned or got that foot in the door with Hollywood.
That crossover in
in
Hollywood.
He was a great actor. He did a lot of acting roles, commercials, and he was the one that was responsible for that. And he introduced me to Buck 4 and Kuriaki.
Okay.
Now Ozrock was, he's originally from Rhode Island, but he did go to New York and train with all of them. And he's actually in one of the Rock City Crew videos. I think it's Up Rock, the video.
Okay.
When they're on
I got Up Rock. Yeah.
He's on that video with them, and so he knew them. And so when they were Rock City had gone to California to do a show at Six Flags. After the show, they hung out, and then that's when we got introduced. And when they saw me, they thought I was an alien. Like, who is this kid? You know what I mean? Because that was my peak. That's my first real peak.
Young kid, throw it down.
Dude, I'm not.
That's still amazing to see and listen. And these stories you're telling me, like I'm having to keep reminding myself that you were so young. Like I'm still thinking you're 18, 19.
No. Dude, when I took off to New York City and Vegas and Soul Train, all these things that we did, all the clubs and life was happening so fast. I was only 15 years old.
Wow.
How am I getting into the Devil's Nest in New York City?
Right.
And it was crazy because it was snowing. There was like 100 people out in line, and we were just VIP walking to the front.
That's a testament to what we tell the kids now. Like your talent will carry you wherever you want to go. If you really just, live by your passion and follow your passion, it'll really take you wherever you want to go.
Yes, sir. And to this day, I tell Little Caesar, I tell the kids at our studio nowadays, you know what? Practice your skill, practice your game. Master it. Hollywood will come. If you're dope, you don't have to go looking for Hollywood. Hollywood will come, and just start, you know what I mean? If you start emceeing real dope, and you got that projecting your spirit through your lyrics, Hollywood will come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need
Somebody's
to
gonna talk about you. Yeah, they're gonna see you.
Yes,
one
sir.
way or the other.
So that's how we met. That's how I met Buck 4 and Kuriaki, and we became best of friends. I remember the first day. I actually ended up staying with Buck 4, and his dad was a super of this apartment complex.
Right.
But in the basement, it was a complete hangout. They had a pool table down there, music, place to practice, sofa. It was like a kickback spot.
Oh, wow.
Like a man cave, you know what I mean? Back in the day. Right. And so we go down there to practice, and then in comes Noel, Kid Nice, and Chino Action for the next. And I was like, oh my God, they're rivals. They're about to fight. You know what I mean? Just because of the whole beef thing, and everybody's like, who do you like? New York City? With the power? Do you like Rock City with the footwork and flavor? Well, there was always that fight and that competitive aspect of it, but they were best friends. They would come over and practice, and I was like, what?
Who would have thunk it?
You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there on the couch, and they had a VCR thing going on down in that basement, and Bucky plays the shows that we had just done in LA and in Vegas, and they were like, yo, who the heck is that kid? Who is that? And he's like, that's that kid right there, sitting right next to you. What? They had never seen anything at that level, at that control, at that power, at that grace, at that finesse, like how I was putting it down. It was just, you know what I mean? I was an alien to them, so when I went to New York, it was just, I was on another level, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And that's how I got my respect, I had to go to New York and get it from them. You know what I mean?
At that point, had you developed your head spins that everybody always talks about? That was...
Yeah, I was already doing mastered. I had mastered all these moves. I used to do 1990s like a handspin. I could do as many as I wanted to.
Wow.
And we used to go fizz, res, back up there, hop to this way, hollow back. I used to do halo, double halo, double halo, windmill 90, hollow back,
If you don't know what that is, this ain't no simple moves. This ain't the ordinary b-boy stuff. Like he throwing down. It's like this some magical stuff out there. And way back in the day, it's some guys just now learning this. Some top guys,
Yeah. You know what? Every move was already invented, and the thing back in the day was that you had to master every single move before you could even be like have a respect to battle another person, at that caliber or at that level. You couldn't have whack flares dragging or one foot hitting
right.
the floor, or not even these little cockroaches flares, you know what I mean, or
right.
cricket flares. You had to have them straight, high, control,
legs straight,
stop, go to the other side, or go to a 90. I mean, you had to show
that. We need to talk about that. We're going to take go on to a breakdown. I do want to go in and talk about the battle, and I know you've traveled all around the world to battle, and when we come back, we want to make sure that we share some of those stories with everyone.
We got to chop it up on that. Yeah, welcome back to the SupaDopeFresh podcast. It's your main man, Bolofresche.
Bolo, DeBlak.
DeBlak in the building, and we got the big homie Orko.
Big boy Orko in the house.
Legendary homie Orko, right?
Yeah, put that legendary for it.
You gotta keep that in the front.
He's so humble though. He probably don't even want us to say that. He be so humble. This man has zero ego. I don't understand. My head would be so big right now. But we appreciate that about you. We love that about you.
Thank you guys. Thank you,
man. You the dude. Thank you for gracing the studio,
man.
So we ended up we were talking about how you started developing your style, and we wanted to kind of continue down that path. Just kind of give us some insight on that.
Yeah, draw some
your dance
styles, moves, and things.
First of all, even with the early days, I used to break a certain style. The West Coast, wasn't exposed to none of that East Coast flavor. You know what I mean?
Okay.
At the beginning. So, but my boys from Shake City, there was a couple that were from the East Coast. So even when I would throw down, they're the ones that would tell me like the formula of it. Orko, first you got to top rock, then you got to go to footwork, then you got to freeze, then you got to get back up, then jump into your power, and always end in the freeze or a pose. You know what I mean? They taught me the whole formula how to do it.
So it's a format.
Yep. So the formula of that, and then also once certain power moves came. Started coming out, like one at a time, or a whisper in the wind of some certain move. You just thought of like, okay, I think it looks like this type of a move, or this is what it would look like, and you would try stuff, you'd make stuff up.
You know what I think about that? There was no YouTube back then,
there was nothing.
So how the kids learn now? How did those moves travel from the East Coast to the West Coast?
I have never seen no footage, nothing. I just practiced in my mom's living room over and over. I learned by myself. Think about learning how to do a windmill by yourself, and you don't see no tapes, nothing. Right. You're just like there.
That's amazing.
You know the bruises and the scars and the stuff I got on my back. You know what I mean? Because there was no one there. Put your hand here, whip this leg. Dude, there was nobody. It was by myself.
Oh,
you know
wow.
what I mean? So anyway, so one of the things that I take pride for certain moves is one of them is the head spins. You know what I mean?
Right.
How when I first started, this is the story of the head spins. When I first started doing head spins, I used to drag one leg. I could see this leg as I'm spinning, almost pulling me down, and I used to just cruise about maybe 6 or maybe even 8 or 10 without no hands. But remember, we're talking about the early 80s, so that was already considered incredible. You know what I mean? I was like, wow.
It's still incredible.
But that was my main rival, which his name is Baby Huey.
Okay.
And me and Huey got into many battles. He was down with a crew called Pony Express. And Huey is the originator for that bicycle style.
Oh, wow.
There's some footage online of me and him battling, and he would just tap and go. He would have his hands like this, and his legs would be kicking up and down like that, and he would go fast. While I would wind up and just like a slow train, just going in a circle.
Right.
But so Huey had better head spins or faster head spins than me, but he couldn't drill. He couldn't do any tricks or anything. At least I could pause and then drill like little lap or just those one shots. So me always trying to get on my craft and improve my game. I started trying to master or try to also to learn Huey's style. And how and doing the bicycle style we called it, because there was no names. Like you look like he was pedaling a bike, so we just called it bicycle style.
Right.
And so then, trying to learn his style and practicing Huey's style, I arched my back and I was tapping, and then I started off with that one leg always dragging, that other one came down, and here I am now spinning with both legs in front of me, but I didn't fall down, and everybody's like, oh my God,
That's crazy.
How are you spinning like this now with both legs out in front of you and you're not falling? Like, I don't know, do it again. So I wound it up, wind up, and then let go. The legs came down, and then I grabbed my ankles, and I noticed that as I brought my ankles in and my legs, I spun faster.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Oh my God. That has never been done before. There was no one ever. It was just a freak accident. Me trying to learn Huey style so I could beat him at that next, cipher battle, what have you. And that's how the ball headspins came out. And once that came out, forget it. It was like, dude, I opened up another chapter to the Matrix. You know what I mean? That another door got unlocked.
That's amazing that you kind of just
and
discovered.
from there, that's when the ones that I used to reach all the way back, I didn't even name them. Those are Orko headspins. Somebody named them radars. You know what I mean? That I actually would wanted to go all the way so much to spin on my forehead. That was the whole thing, to reach all the way back and spin on my forehead. And the move to this day, they're called radars. I didn't name them, but I was the one that made up those little ball headspins and then the radar headspins. So,
that's all
I unlocked that chamber, that door, because before then it was no one. Years later, I heard stuff that maybe Kid Freeze used to do, take off his jacket or put handcuffs on and stuff like that. But there's footage of me when I was 14, 15 years old, taking off my jacket and all that stuff too. But like I said, I never seen this dude. I never seen no footage. Years later, I heard of stuff like that. But like I said, it was, back those prehistoric times. You know what I mean?
It wasn't. Y'all was creating the footage.
And then also that was one thing. And then also the one hand hops. I always had this idea, because remember we mastered everything by early 80s. And we used to do 90s on our hand, fizz, wrist, back up, hop up in a circle. And then I also wanted to I actually wanted to hop while I'm doing a 1990. Imagine you spinning a 1990.
If you know how to break dance, the 90s is spinning.
You know what I mean? And hopping at one time.
Straight up, spinning, upside down, not like this.
So that was one of my little secret moves that, you have those secret moves that in case you're getting burnt in a cipher battle, these are these last few grenades you have before you go down. You know what I mean? That you might even get hurt doing it, but this is, I know nobody could top this. You know what I mean? And so the hopping 1990s, one of the moves I had in my back pocket, and I actually first showed it in Japan, like early 90s on my second comeback. I went to Japan at my b-boy machine. He throws dance light out in Japan, and they asked me, Orko, what's the new move? What are you gonna bless us with? What's the new move? And I go, hopping 1990s, and they just started laughing, like ha ha, made fun of me. And then one guy, actually machine attempted to try to do it, ha ha, really, ha ha. And I go, no, watch, so I go out there like pat 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 pat, and they're like, oh shit,
Wow.
And then I did it a couple times in other battles, and so it was funny that I left the scene for a minute to raise a family and what have you. When I come back, or in the movies, and everybody and their mother was hopping on one hand. I was like, what an amazing feeling that, you know what I mean? That's something that I brought to the table, in b-boying, and it's here to stay to this day. And everybody from all over the world started doing it, you know what I mean? So that's amazing. I used to dive into turtles, all the crazy combinations, you know what I mean? Windmill flare, halo, backspin, headspin, 90 back down. That was the West Coast. That was us at the radio, you know what I mean? New York started this thing. But remember, if you even look at footage from New York, they were very basic, just windmills. Right? Mm-hmm. To a freeze. You never see them do 90 windmill flare, headspin, halo, backspin. We were the ones that put the combination on that lock.
So,
you know what I mean?
If you're a basic b-boy like me, I'm pretty decent. I'm alright.
Now you guys are
but we don't call it all this. We call those suicide moves. So he acting like it ain't nothing. Like, you see, this is how humble his brother is. But these is like top level moves and stuff that guys are getting.
Like he said something clear. He said something very important. You can get hurt doing these moves. If you don't know what you're doing, you can actually get hurt doing these moves.
That's what the name break dancing is to me. If I do too much, I'm getting broke. So I keep it simple.
Definitely, man. So
real talk.
I've always, I love this dance. I love this art form. But I don't like when the media got involved to it and watered it down and milked it and put glitter on it and all that stuff. Right. And the real true b-boys back in the day, they didn't have to speak. You didn't have to boast or brag. You know what I mean? It was just, you didn't have to. You know what I mean? The street gave you that
Somebody
respect.
Talk about
you know, and that's why to this day, I mean, a lot of the real true pioneers, the OGs, they're not that good in front of a camera. That's why I haven't done a lot of interviews. Just most, I think maybe in the last 15 years, Kenny started speaking, you know what I mean? Because we didn't like, it's like, yo, I did this, yo, the shit back in the day, blah, blah, blah. Like, those are little buster ones, you know what I mean? The ones that...
You really don't got to do that if you're about that life,
you know? Nobody, somebody know.
Because if you want to catch me in a circle, you're going to know, you know what I mean? You're going to get humbled real quick.
That's true.
What I'm saying? and to go with the whole battling thing, man, transitioning into that, there was some legendary battles that I had. One, many was against Baby Huey. If it wasn't for Huey, battling is the most important thing of b-boy, man. If you ain't battling, you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna raise your level of respect and level of your skill, because Huey made me who I am. I was always afraid that he was gonna catch me. So I practiced for Huey, and little does he know that he made me the b-boy that I be, come to be.
I can definitely see that.
Challenging top guys.
We actually got into like 5 battles. We got into 2 fights. You know what I mean? And this last fight we got into, Huey, if you see him, he came out in the Freshers Kids. He's always been that big. This brother's like, we called him Baby Huey because he was diesel. We were like 13, 14 years old. This kid was like,
he already had muscles.
No, he was like the little Hulk.
I wish I had a clip right now. That's a grown man.
No, if you see him, you know what? And so, then we met up not too long ago at one of the B-boy summits in the West Coast. And Chuco brought him in, and we were sitting at the table, and and Chuco was like, "Yo, so how was it between you and Orko?" I was like, "Yeah, we battled." He was like, "Yo, Orko, remember that last fight we got into?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why punched you?" Because I went out and did 6 1990s, and then I knew you were gonna come out and do 8 or 10. So before you could burn me, I punched you. That's it. I wanted to end it, so you couldn't go out no more. And and it was mad love. It was, he opened up. It was mad love like that. Mad respects to him. He was an incredible b-boy, a beautiful person, and time of my life. You know what I mean? He made me who I am. He pushed me, to my limits, and so that was, that was one person. And then the other person, when I went to New York City in about 85. Mm-hmm. I was headhunting. At that time, nobody could touch me. Nobody could stop me. And as we got older, as we became now ambassadors of this dance, we got a little soft. You know what I mean? We can't say, yo, fuck, you know what I mean? That's what we were back in the day. We weren't nice. We weren't like...
Oh, y'all wasn't
playing.
You know
what I mean? It was a different, law of the land at that time.
It sounds like a battle culture. Like you're going, you're looking for that. You're looking for that next battle.
Yeah, you know what? And if you got burned in that cipher, it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to you in your life. Because you couldn't even go to that club ever again, unless you really redeemed yourself. You know what I mean?
You can't show up for 8 months.
No, you couldn't. It was like the worst thing that could happen to you. All this now that these guys are throwing this move around and all that, that didn't happen. You were gonna get beat down. Dancing is over.
Really?
It's fighting time. It's over. So that respect was there. You know what I mean? Those little. You're not gonna dance against a little clown doing his little clown moves. You can just knock him out. Stop playing. Stop playing, dude.
Wow, that's a
so
totally
now
different thing.
as we're getting older, like we became certain spokesperson or people that they looked up. You had all these young kids, and you're like, you kind of don't want to show them that you're violent or be in that violent atmosphere because it's not gonna go anywhere. You know what I mean? So you gotta kind of pull yourself back. And the last time Alien Ness was here with me, he came over to the house and we're kicking. He goes, "Yo, Orko, we've gotten soft throughout the years, right?" I was like, "Yeah, man." But if people only knew how we were back then, it was no joke.
I remember the first time meeting Ness. Yeah, he was all cool. I was like, I know y'all were like that.
Yeah, no, you know what? And I met him when we were both young kids. He was like 80 pounds with the Jerry curl, That Afro sheen was coming off of the back of his head, you know what I mean? And we were just young kids, but he was also a battler. He loves the battle. He loves the game.
That's
you know
a bad
I mean?
boy, yeah.
Yes, it sounds like a common theme, and I hope that young kids is coming up now listening to this. Like the battle is such an important part of the culture.
It is.
Where you got, and I know it's getting, we got the Olympics coming. We got all these things coming that don't really. You got to have that element. And like that drives you to compete on that level. That drives you to know that you don't have to be scared of anybody. Like you gotta kind of swallow that.
Yeah, you know what? And one of the other best battles ever that everybody was there, everybody heard about was when I battled German in New York. When I went out to New York City, I was hanging out with the best. I lived with Bucky and Cody. And like I said, Chino came over. We practiced with Pex. Pex is someone that I used to look up to. For me, Pex was the epitome of a b-boy because he had the swag, he had the flavor, he had the power, he had everything. You know what I mean? He was an incredible b-boy in his time and in his prime.
Yeah.
But at that time, I heard about other kids. I heard about incredible breakers. I heard about little Alex. So I tried to find these dudes. You know what I mean? And the one I called out little Alex. We went out to whatever gym he used to practice at. He didn't want to battle. And I ended up battling German, B-boy German, which I hear that he was a mentor for a Quick Step.
Okay.
And German was he was a stocky little dude, just like a little Tasmanian devil. You know what I mean? He was short, but he was just
Right.
muscle. You know what I mean? He was fast. You know, they're like, oh, German's 90s. Well, I had 90s too. You know what I mean? I used
Right.
to blaze them. So one night we got caught up at the Devil's Nest. Everybody heard about it. Everybody showed up. And we went at it 3 rounds, and after the 3rd round, he didn't want to come out no more.
What?
You know, he just got nervous or something, and everybody started booing, boo, 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 started getting louder, louder, and he just got so nervous, he just ran out.
Oh,
you
wow.
know, he just ran out. And I asked, Flo, may he rest in peace before I go, hey, what's up in Germany? How come he got all nervous? He didn't come out anymore. He's like, dude, under pressure, he's not good like that. He just folds, we would try to do shoulder, this and that. He would get nervous, and,
It sounds like it takes something. Like it's almost like it becomes a gladiator sport. So hearing you tell these stories, I'm thinking about boxing. I'm thinking about all these sports, and it sounds like breaking is just as competitive.
Oh my
it's
God.
just as physical.
And now into the whole battling scene. Just about a year ago, I battled in Russia. I battled with the guys.
I remember that. That was big.
Russia.
And then I don't know if a lot of people know your age now, and
Man.
just to know that you've been dancing this long and still willing to train and battle.
You know what? I'm 50 years old now. I turned 50 last October.
You see how smooth and light he said 50.
Hey.
You 15 and you complaining 50, and he's still busting heads on the
5-0,
dance
man.
floor. 5-0.
It was a blessing to go to Battle of the Gods, and I was so pumped for it. The adrenaline. It was like the UFC.
Right.
Prime fight.
I remember it being live streamed, so we
You know what?
all around the world,
Live.
everybody's watching it.
I just, I was gonna demonstrate who I really am, bring that tiger out. You know what I mean? But when Maurizio and Kenny got there and I see him, Maurizio just gave me so much love, and we were crew before.
Right.
Before I actually stopped dancing in '97, we were 7 grandmasters. It was Mauricio. You can't be mad at Mauricio. You know what I mean? You can't come hard at him because he's such a lovely person. You know what I mean? I don't know if you know boys like that. You're like, yo, I can't punch this dude because, you know what I mean?
Right.
Such a cool
Just
dude.
a nice guy.
And that's how I feel with Mauricio. Like, I can't come hard at Mauricio because I just love him that much. You know what I mean? And then Kenny, I respect him because, dude, whether
Kenny's
he's this
that
type of
dude.
person, that he know what he did for the game.
We're talking about Kenny Swift, y'all.
I gotta respect him, for what he's done
Much
for the art
respect.
form, and he's been a true b-boy. You know what I mean? So I couldn't really come hard at them because that was my crew. You know what I mean?
Right.
And those are people that I respected, real b-boys, real warriors in the scene, not glamour, step up b-boys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You got served b-boys, and you know what I mean?
Right.
These are real true b-boys.
If
you
you
know
don't
what I
know,
mean?
these are the dopest battles.
So-
like when you against your crew, oh man, we go hard, but it's just so much respect, so
Yes,
much
sir.
fun.
So, that was amazing. I ended up getting hurt, I think, in my 2nd or 3rd round. I think being a little bit older, just the flight, the 18-hour flight over the
Right.
time difference, you know what I mean? All that
Yeah, the
stuff.
time difference.
Oh, that's
And
it.
when you get there, just that energy, you can't sleep. People knocking your door, yo, what's up? Let's hang out. Yo, what's up? Everybody. So you didn't really get much rest.
Right.
You're on lack of sleep and you're trying to battle. You know what I mean? And we didn't even get the chance to warm up because Donald D was supposed to do about an hour and a half show, and they couldn't find him. They were looking for him, so they called us right away. Yo, you guys are on now. We had to. They rushed us from our room to go straight to the battle. We couldn't even really warm up, and I'm like, what happened? Well, Donald D was at KFC. Give me some chicken. Dude, I'm serious.
Man.
It's not. You can't make this up. We're like, dude. You know what I mean? So we couldn't even
Eating
warm
chicken in
up.
Russia.
No, dude.
Oh,
I was like, dude, like,
real stories, y'all.
so we threw down and what have you, but I still, dude, I didn't really release who I really wanted to, you know what I mean? My potential. The last, we've been in here, I'm married now to a beautiful woman, Honey Rockwell. We've been here.
Honey.
We've been here.
The real honey.
I know, right? We've been here in Georgia, and when we got here, man, we just came with hope and prayer. We didn't come with nothing. We came like the old pioneers back in the day on a wagon.
On that
with just,
wagon
you know what I
train.
mean? With just a toothbrush and
Yeah.
3 mattresses, to be honest with you. We didn't have lamps, shower curtains. We had nothing, and I worked really hard to take care of this family, you know what I mean? And to put a roof over their head, and so I didn't really get to train and be the b-boy that I wanted to be. But now, life is changed, it's different. The kids are older and grown, and I still have that desire to battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm loving that about you.
I'm definitely gonna train. I'm 50 now, but everything's still good. I'm training for the freestyle session, the 40 and over battle that they have. You know, they had it last year and Wicked won.
I'm going, man.
And dude,
Yeah, SupaDopeFresh will be there.
You know, most definitely. And then you guys, I want the people to see who Orko is, because this is, there's rumors and there's talks, and you got all these other b-boys now that are saying, oh, Hong Tan and Wing and this dude, like, dude, you know what I mean? Oh, no disrespect to them, but there's people that were way there before them that were incredible and took this art form and put it on a platform that these kids now are just getting fed easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to definitely prove and show everybody who I was and what actually a glimpse of what the old school was like.
I respect it. I got so much respect for that. We appreciate you stopping by and just talking with us.
That's what's up.
I know we got so many stories, so much to talk about. We could probably do 2 or 3 more episodes, which we'll.
Okay.
We want to come out to your dance studio over at Rockwell Dance Academy in Ackworth, and we want to do a live podcast as well to kind of talk to you in your environment. What footage of you dance like?